Hello and welcome. I'm Raghav, and in this session, we are going to see in a very easy and interesting way how we can create a fake REST API web service on our local system from scratch. And we need to create fake REST APIs for testing. Sometimes when we have to do some testing and we do not have the APIs ready, or we do not get some public APIs, we can always create our own REST APIs. We also can create these APIs for mocking purposes. Sometimes when we are testing or creating a API scenario, and some APIs are available and some APIs are not available, either they are not developed or they are third party APIs and we do not have access to them, we can always mock the APIs and use them in our scenario. So here I'm going to use JSON server, and this is going to be very easy and very interesting. In a moment you will see how easily you can create a server on your system, on your local system, and create a fake API. And we will also run all these HTTP operations: get, post, put, patch, delete, everything on the API that we create. So this is going to be easy and interesting. So let's get started. And if you go to Google and search for JSON server, so this is the software that we are going to use, and this helps us to create a local server and then we can create our REST API over that. So you can see this is the GitHub link. I will also copy this link in the notes, and all these notes will be available to you in the description section of this video. So here are some documentation and some description, and you can see all this guide. And because this is a node program, so we use npm install -g json server. This is the command we use to install JSON server. And just in case you do not have node, you can always go to node.js download, and here if you go to this nodejs.org and the download section, you will see here we have the installer for Windows, Mac, and we also have the source code. So based on your operating system, you can install and set up Node.js, and after that you just have to go to your command line and run this command npm install -g json server. Or if you do not want to install globally, you can remove the -g. So I will go to my command line. I'm on Windows, you can follow this on Windows or Mac. I will say, so let me first check my node version. I will say node space -v and npm space -v. This shows that node is installed on my system. And then I will say npm install json server, and this will download and install json server. And once this is done, we can then start JSON server using this command json server --watch db.json. Now db.json is the file where we have our data for our API. I will show you that as well. So let me put this command as well here. Now in my case it was already there, so let me just run this server and check. I will say json server --watch db.json. Now in case you do not have db.json file created already, do not worry, we can create it later and we will have some dummy data created. So let me run this and check. You can see here it says db.json doesn't seems to exist, so creating db.json with some default data, and it has created some default data. I will also show you in a moment the file, and this is the link where you can access the web service, which is http localhost colon 3000. If you go to your browser and go to localhost 3000, you can see here we have got these API resources, and we have post, comments, and profile. So these are the data that is present in the db.json file. And to see the file, you can go to the location wherever you have started your JSON server. So in my case it is C users administrator. So I will go to my C users administrator folder, and you can see db.json file is present here. So I will just go and open it in any notepad or any editor. I will use notepad++, and you can see this is the file and this is the content. So this is the JSON content here, and therefore I am getting all this here. So let me show you, and let me also split my screen so that you can see both the file and the browser. So if I go to localhost 3000 /posts and hit enter, you can see it is showing me all the posts which is coming from here. And if I say comments /comments, so it will show me the comments. Let me check again. So this will show me the comments here, and I can also go and check some particular comment. It is taking some time. Let me just check on the, okay, so this is working fine here. Yeah, so you can see some comment. I can go and say comments and /1 to get comment with ID 1, and here you can see it is showing me the comment with ID 1. So this is working fine. Now let me create some data for us. So I will create a JSON right from scratch. So I will give 2 curly brackets, and then inside this I will say I will start users. I will create some data for users and a colon and a square bracket start and a square bracket stop, and inside this I can have multiple users. So this is a users array. Let us say in this users array I will have first name, and I will give some data here, and then I will say last name, and again I will say I'll give the data here and comma, and let us say I will say ID of the user, and I will give ID 1, and let me also give a subject ID. So I will show you how we can do relationship in this web service for REST, and I am saying this belongs to subject ID 1. So that's it. If I save this, I'm just saving this, and if I go and run or invoke localhost 3000 again, so let me check this. There may be some, yeah, I have to give a comma here. So if this is not correct, the syntax is very important here, so it has to be a correct JSON syntax. Let me check again. So here this is fine. I think this one is extra. Let me remove this one. This curly bracket was extra, and now if I save again and check, so here if I go to my command line and I will press, so yes, there is some error. Let me restart. I will press Ctrl C to stop the server. I will press Ctrl C to stop, and I will say yes, terminate the job, and then I will start the server again. And here, yes, there is some error in the JSON file, and therefore I am getting this issue. So here, let me check. I have created users. Okay, so the problem was this was a square bracket, and I'm change it to a curly bracket. Now this is fine. Let me start the server again, and looks like should be okay now. And if I now check on my browser, I go to localhost 3000, you can now see we have got users, and here is our data. Now I can create more users. I will give a comma here, and then I will create some more users. So let me create some more data here. Let us say this is John, and I will say this is ID is 2, and I will also change the last name here, John Hawkins ID 2, and let us say this is belongs to subject ID 2. And similarly, let me create one more user. I will give a comma and paste it again, and this is, I will say Peter and give any data here. Let me say this is ID 3 and this belongs to subject ID 1 again, and save this. And if I run the users again, you can now see I am getting this data here. Now I will also create an array for subjects. So I will create a array for subjects here. I will say subjects and a square bracket start and a square bracket stop, and inside this I am going to create some subjects data. So I will say here name, and let us say automation, and ID is 1. So you can see the subject ID and this ID should be the reference point. I can create more data like this. So this is one object in this array. I will copy this and create more objects. So let me give a comma here, and I'll create one more object here. And here I will say name is DEVOPS and the subject ID is 2, and that's it. I will save this, and now if I go to localhost 3000, you can now see we also have the subjects resource here, and we have these two subjects here. Now let us say if I say subjects and I go to / subjects and /1, I'm getting automation which has ID 1. Now if I say / subjects / and then say / users, now this should show me all the users that have subject which relates to subject ID 1, that is automation. So if I run this, you can see I am getting two users, that is Raghav and Peter. So you can see here I had Raghav with subject ID 1 and Peter with subject ID 1, and therefore we are getting this. So similarly, if I say subject ID 2 and users, I am getting John. So this is how you can also do this relationship. So this is a complete API. Now as of now, all these operations that we are doing on the browser, these are get operations. We can also do some post operations, and for that you will need some tool or some client. So let me go to Postman. So Postman is a client, API client or a tool where we can run some post operations. So let me create a post request here. So you can just download Postman and start using it. Just in case you want some more details, you can go on my website, that is automation-step-by-step.com, and here if you go to the API section, let me very quickly show you. So if you go to the API testing section, you will see Postman tutorials here. So just in case you want to start from scratch and see the beginner tutorials, you can go to my website automation-step-by-step.com. For now, I will just create a new collection, or I can directly create a API call here. So let me just directly show you very quickly. I will give this URL. So if I run a get request, let me run a get request first, just for checking I am getting this data. If I say users and say send, so you can see I am getting the response here, and in the response we get the body here, cookies, headers, the response code, everything we get here. So you can see all this is coming here now. So you can see this is the status code, time and size and all these data. Now I will say I will create a new request, and this should be a post. So I will create a post request, and this should be on the resource users. So I will use the same endpoint, and I will go here and put this here users, and here we will need a body as well. So let me go to headers first and just add a header for content type. So this is going to be content type JSON. So I will say content type is application JSON. So let me show you here. This is content type and this is application JSON. And then I will go to body and I will create a raw body and I will just copy this data for any one user and paste it here. Now I do not need to give ID because ID will be assigned automatically. So I just need to give this data within curly brackets and let me say first name is Sarah and last name is Palin and subject ID is 2 and that's it. I will say send and let us see the output. So I am getting 201 which is for successful creation and I'm also getting the response here. So now if I go to my resource, if I go here and check for users, I should have this new user created. So let me just go and check for /users and you can see a new user is created. Also if I go in the file and you can see it has been modified. Do you want to reload it? I will say yes and you can see the new user is now created. So I can also do a post now. I can create new users here. Let me try to create a patch. I will go to a new API request and say patch and I'm just going to go to the user the new user, let me say ID 4 and you can see the ID is assigned automatically. So I will go to this resource that I just created and I will say here in the body, let us say I will go to raw and I will say I will give a curly brackets here and let us say I will say change the first name to Ellen and that's it. I will also give the headers because this is all JSON, so I will say content type and this should be application JSON. I will just show you what this complete words. Somehow you can see this is content type, content hyphen type, and this is application JSON. So somehow it is not getting expanded. This should be application /JSON. So that's it. I will go and run this and see the response. So this is showing me this is done and I'm getting status 200. So if I now refresh this should change from Sarah to Ellen. I will just refresh and you can see this has changed. The same thing will happen here. If I check here, you can see this has changed to Ellen here. So you can also do a patch. You can do a put as well and then delete as well. Let me quickly show you a put and delete. I will go and say put and I will give the same endpoint which is for user ID 4 and I will give the headers first. I will say content type and I will say application JSON and in the body let me copy this entire thing and I will say raw and if I give something like, let me check if this works fine. I am changing all this. So put is for modification and if I run this I am getting status 200 which is okay. So if I now refresh, you can see this all has changed. Now if I create a delete request, I will go and create a delete request and I'm just going to delete the same resource which is user with ID 4 and I will say send and here I'm not getting any response. That means it is deleted. And if I just check here, you can see there is no resource. If I go and check the users, you can see user with ID, the last ID was deleted. And if I go and check here, you can see the last user that was with ID 4 was deleted. So you can see this is done. So this is deleted here and deleted here. So this is how you can do this, and this is how you can use JSON server to create a complete fake REST API call, and then you can use it for testing and mocking. Let me know in the comments how did you feel about this section and what I can improve. Also share your knowledge with everyone. I hope this session was very useful for you. Thank you for watching.